This episode is brought to you by pastasworld.com, where you can find jigsaw puzzles, coffee and tea mugs, canvas and poster prints, iPhone cases, and more. You can even order custom items with your own pictures. Go to pastasworld.com or the Pastas World shop on Etsy to learn more.
You're listening to I Love This TV Show, The Golden Girls.
Hi, and welcome to the I Love This TV Show podcast. I'm your host, Noelle from pastasworld.com. Each season of this podcast will contain a TV show in full. This means the length of the season depends on the length of the TV show. The first season is, of course, The Golden Girls.
This is Episode 5, The Golden Girls, Season 1, Episode 5, The Triangle. Sophia tries to sneak out, but Dorothy catches her. She's going to her friend's house to watch dirty movies. Dorothy insists she stay, as a doctor is coming to the house to see her. She argues, but finally stays. Rose comes out with chicken soup. Blanche arrives home and is excited about a dress sale. Sophia tries to run out to the dress sale, but Dorothy and Rose won't let her leave. Blanche wants her to see her in her new dress as well. They all discuss house calls and how hard it is to get one nowadays. Rose says this was an everyday occurrence on her family farm. The doctor saw both the animals and the humans. The doorbell rings, and it's Dr. Clayton. Dorothy does the introductions. Dr. Clayton and Dorothy start discussing Sophia's symptoms. Sophia gets annoyed that they're ignoring her. He finally starts talking to Sophia. Meanwhile, Dorothy is asking him questions about how long he's lived in Miami, how is his wife, etc. And when he says he and Mrs. Clayton are divorced, Dorothy asks him out. He then offers to take her to dinner tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Blanche then comes out in her new dress and turns Dr. Clayton's head. She starts putting the moves on him. Dorothy, however, pulls her aside and informs Blanche that she already has a date with him tomorrow night. Dorothy is now on a first-name basis with Elliot. She even gets a wink. It's now another night, and Dorothy and Elliot have gone out on several dates. Blanche comments that she has him hooked so she can wear whatever she wants. The doorbell rings, and it's Elliot. Blanche offers to make him a drink. Elliot makes a pass at her, though. She winds up punching him because she's so offended. He finally apologizes to her. Dorothy comes out after all of this is ended, and she and Elliot make a quick exit. Rose thinks something is amiss with Elliot and tells Blanche that. Blanche responds that he's a lech and that he made a pass at her. Rose is horrified and tells her she has to tell Dorothy. But Blanche refuses, as the last time she told a friend that her boyfriend hit on her, she not only lost that friend, but that boyfriend too. She confuses Rose because the friend's name is Anderbo, and it just goes downhill from there. But Rose believes Dorothy deserves to know what kind of man Elliot really is. Rose goes in a different direction about Dorothy and Elliot's future, and an adopted child in a country club. Dorothy finally comes home later that night. Blanche waited up to talk to her, and she's clearly very nervous. She tries to tell Dorothy, but just can't get it out, even after 3 attempts. Finally, Blanche tells her Elliot made a pass at her. She describes what happens. Dorothy tells her she does not believe her. She thinks she's lying because she's getting all the attention instead of Blanche. Dorothy takes it to a very low and insulting level. Blanche suddenly starts referring to characters in Rose's story like they're real. Dorothy thinks she's clearly lost it. The next morning, breakfast is very tense. Blanche is mad at Rose. Sophia believes Blanche, though. And now she's upset that Dorothy's doctor boyfriend is a jerk. Dorothy comes in the kitchen and then throws another insult at Blanche. And it triggers a fight between Dorothy and Blanche. Rose raises her voice at both of them, in schoolteacher style. Dorothy opens the door to leave with Elliot. But before they do leave, Dorothy decides to ask Elliot about the pass he made at Blanche. And he flat out denies it. Dorothy then turns and attacks Blanche again. Blanche, at this point, is so frustrated, mad, hurt, and upset, she asks Dorothy to move out. Later, in the kitchen, Rose is having milk and Oreos. Sophia can't sleep either and joins Rose in the kitchen. She's also upset about the fight. Sophia tells Rose a story. It's about two women who make pizza and get split up by a man. Rose again just looks confused. But she does ask what is the point of the story. Sophia goes in another direction and complains about losing a fortune. It's now another day, and Dorothy asks Rose if she can borrow her golf clubs. Rose refuses, but finally relents. Dorothy exits to go find them. Rose, meanwhile, gets an idea. She starts flirting with Elliot. Elliot is taken aback. After a few moments, he tells her she's not his type. Rose sees Dorothy comes back in and finally gets Elliot to admit the truth, with him not realizing that Dorothy's in the room. Elliot tries to play it off as no big deal when Dorothy speaks up immediately after he admits the truth. She then drops him like a hot potato, to quote a Rose. Rose apologizes and then heads off to apologize to Blanche. Dorothy goes to Blanche's room. Blanche has nothing to say to her. Dorothy tells her that she now knows the truth about what Elliot did, and she apologizes. Rose runs in, and they do a group hug. Sophia comes in at that moment with 2 pizzas for the girls to taste. They all pick pizza A. Sophia gets angry as it's not hers and storms out.
Favorite quotes. Sophia. I'm an old white woman. I'm not supposed to have color. Blanche. But we're meant for each other. I'm a woman. He's a man. Dorothy. And what am I, Little Richard? Blanche. Pardon my strong language, but you, sir, are no gentleman. Sophia. I can't believe it. My daughter is finally dating a doctor, and he turns out to be a scuzzbucket. Elliot. Is something wrong with your leg? Rose. Nothing you can't fix, Dr. Man. Sophia. You can't pick men, and you can't pick pizza.
Some fun facts we learn in this episode. Sophia has high blood pressure. Her regular doctor died 2 months ago, and oddly she wants to go to his funeral again. Dr. Clayton makes house calls. While Dr. Clayton visits Sophia, Dorothy asks him out. Dr. Clayton's first name is Elliot. Elliot and Dorothy have gone out 5 nights in a row. Elliot made a pass at Blanche. Blanche tells Dorothy about Elliot making a pass at her, but Dorothy doesn't believe her and calls her a liar. At the peak of the fight, Blanche kicks Dorothy out. Sophia tells her first story, but does not say picture at Sicily yet. And the first story is about her and Mama Celeste. Rose gets Elliot to admit the truth about hitting on Blanche. And Dorothy apologizes to Blanche, and everyone makes up. This episode really is about matters of the heart. Dorothy is clearly not as, what's the word? Shall we actually call Blanche a nymphomaniac or a sexual predator when it comes to men? I mean, it's kind of a toss-up there because she'll really stop at nothing. But we're so young in their friendship. Has Blanche actually demonstrated that she would steal someone else's man or go behind their back and do anything? I know that later in the series this comes up again and is discussed in a different way, and it goes in a very different direction. But in this case, Dorothy's extreme mistrust of Blanche is just, But it does go to two things. One, she doesn't want to think that her boyfriend is going to actually cheat on her or do anything like that behind her back. And it would be upsetting, yes, to learn that your boyfriend is making passes at other people while he's seeing you. But at the same time, we're not aware that they have decided to be in a monogamous relationship. Blanche really truly hasn't done anything wrong, but simply because of her history with men, Dorothy just assumes that she's the one who actually did it instead of Elliot. Whereas we see, she had nothing to do with it and she even punched him. She did not ask for his advances in any way. You know, I'm assuming many of us have been in a situation where someone we've been going out with hits on one of our friends. You know, what do we do in that situation? Clearly our friend, if it is our friend, will have our back and say, no, that's inappropriate. But at the same time, is it how you would look at someone's character? I mean, if the person you're going out with actually cares about you, they're not going to be looking at other people and flirting with other people behind your back. So it brings up trust issues too. Ultimately, the two do make up because Rose gets to the truth. But to me, I think that Dorothy should have believed Blanche. Just because Blanche has gone out with a bunch of different guys does not mean she's a homewrecker. Does not mean she would purposely steal someone. You know, even when Dorothy pulls her aside early on in the episode and is like, hands off, I saw him first, Blanche is a smidgen upset, but she's like, fine, whatever. And she does seem to move on, but yeah, I think there's a little bit of trust issues. Dorothy trusting Elliot, Dorothy trusting Blanche. Their friendship is still new, and we're only really 5 episodes into the show, but we don't have an accurate timeline of how much time has passed between episode 1 and episode 5 at this point to have a better understanding of their friendship and their bond and their trust levels at this point. So I guess it really just boils down to, don't date a scuzz bucket, to quote, you know, Sophia, because she definitely calls Elliot a scuzz bucket. And she definitely always calls a spade a spade. Gotta love Sophia for that. I do think it was very appropriate of Dorothy to apologize to Blanche when Rose proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that yes, Elliot did hit on her. But I do think that Dorothy should have trusted Blanche from the start. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are. I would totally love to hear it. If you go to anchor.fm/I love this TV show, I believe you can leave me a voice message if you'd like. Or you can send an email. I believe I'm about to make the email address, podcast@pastasworld.com. And I will happily add your comments into the episode after it airs. And then, you know, we can have a continuing discussion on that whole trust thing.
It's been great reliving this episode with you. Please check out the podcast website, anchor.fm/I love this TV show, no spaces. You'll be able to see the show notes and also support this podcast. To check out everything I'm up to and nerding about, head over to pastasworld.com. You'll also find additional content there. Thanks for listening and stay golden.